I negotiated a deal with BetterHelp to make it so that I could also connect them with other YouTubers like an ad agency would. We connect some content creators, we set them up, we handle their daily numbers, we make sure they get paid. If they have any questions or need any help, we can be there for them. And then on the other end, BetterHelp, if they have any questions regarding, do you think this person would be good or something along those lines, we can advise. And for all of this, like an ad agency would, we take a percentage of the sponsorship.
We are excited to announce React World, which is a first-of-its-kind program that allows people and companies to license all our popular shows online so that anyone, even you watching right now, can create your own versions in a fully legal way and be part of a new and exciting global community.
In entertainment industry terms, when you create a version of a show based on someone else's format, this is called licensing, which many TV shows have done over time. For example, Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent. It's the same show format, but licensed legally to be created in other locations. So with React World, we've created a new way to license formats in the digital age.
And unlike in TV, where you have to pay huge amounts up front, we're providing the license with no upfront fees. Instead, we're sharing revenue with you after you start uploading. Along with the license, we're going to be giving you a bunch of resources to help you create the shows, make money, and get featured and promoted by us in various ways.
I'm not entirely sure why I wanted to put that at the beginning of the video, as it is not relevant to the subject we intend to cover, but it was something that had occurred to me yesterday when I was watching other things, that there was a similarity between some of the language Philip DeFranco used for why he wanted to help direct traffic and control things, with that of the Fine Brothers and React World. I figured if I just aired it, and you could either choose to watch it or not, since there was a skip option, then you could make up your minds yourselves if there is a similarity or not. Now the subject of today's video, as it is completely different from that, centres around something that happened in the United Kingdom that I originally thought had happened in Sweden a few months ago, which it had, where this girl protested. She protested so hard to save someone from being deported, only to find out that person was a sex offender. Right. That was the Sweden version with the video here.
He's going to get deported to Afghanistan, where there's war, and he's going to get killed. And I'm not going to sit down until this person is off the plane. Because he will most likely get killed if he is on this plane when it's filming myself, because there are a lot of people here watching, and I don't think that all of them want to be on the camera. But as long as a person is standing up, and if more people are standing up, then the pilot can't take off. If the person is getting deported.
It's not the pilot who decides.
The pilot can decide to not to go. That's his ultimate decision.
I don't care what you think.
I'm just asking,
I'm just
what is more important, your life or the time?
What about all these children on here? You are frightening. Take your phone off.
Don't take my phone. Sir. Thank you. So, an English guy just got really angry and he stole my phone, but the flight attendant was really nice and took it back for me and gave it back. Thank you.
Aynı düşüncedeyiz yani. O çocuğu önüme göndermenin bir anlamı yok.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
And of course linked in the description, along with customary articles and videos mocking the living hell out of her for being a moron. Power to the people, am I right? Now the one that happened in the United Kingdom was very recent and actually stunned me, where there was a plane mutiny around the deportation of Yaqub Ahmed. Now he was being returned to Somalia after he was involved in a gang rape, with the passengers complaining that as he was being separated from his family in the UK, this was unjust. And the first thing that occurred to me was, well, as he was already involved in a rape already, is it possible he raped his family here to create his own family and just stuck with them cause reasons? Should a migrant who comes to the United Kingdom, and this is a question for all of you, should they be allowed to stay in the United Kingdom when they've committed a crime here? The answer initially should of course be yes, because I'd want them to serve their time, but upon completing their time, I then want to kick them out of the country, because they shouldn't be allowed or permitted the privilege of existing within this country. Now there is a video that accompanies this, and I think it only right that you get to see that as well.
I know lots of situations, sir. Do you know his? No,
he knows his.
So
he knows his.
Yeah,
he knows his situation, and he says he's not safe. I don't know.
Exactly, sir.
But I know he's scared because that's why he's scared. Take him off the plane! Take him off the plane! Malta because we have connection flight. If there's messages, we go to Snowy because
Take him off the plane!
at this moment in time, sir, if we take him off, everyone on this plane has to get off. Because we've got to get off that start. Because I'm not taking it through you lot. You lot just told me you're scared. But what I'm saying is, I'm not prepared to take him through this plane, through you lot, because you're all going to be scared. We haven't got steps to go. Sorry.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I want you to understand all these lovely, virtuous passengers you see here. Look at them, they're all so indignant at what's happening. I mean, one of them even shouted, "You're a free man." Well, not really. I mean, he's a member of a gang of rapists who brutally assaulted a girl in Crouch End. It's not like he's actually a nice guy. And just to drive the point home, there was DNA evidence that tied 4 men to the rape that they all denied. They were each jailed for a total of 9 years. Now, this had originally happened in 2007, which means this man has in fact served his time. He has served the 9 years he was sentenced for. Congratulations. You are now by definition a free man. However, should a migrant who comes to this country, as already questioned, be permitted to stay here and live in this country just because they have served their time that they should definitely serve for committing a crime in this country? Should they be allowed the privilege to exist in this country? My view is no. Of course, you can possibly rehabilitate some people. I'm not going to deny that. But I believe that to be the case for certain other types of crimes that are less severe. You know, the kind where you don't go out of your way to actually abuse someone. Oh, and it's important to point this out now, as amusing as it is to think that these passengers didn't know he was a gang rapist, they also didn't know that he and his gang had fought for Islamic State in Syria. Wow. So he's not only a rapist, but he's also a jihadist. Congratulations. You just saved this man for a couple more days until we finally managed to find a way to get him off this island. Now, to make this guy's status quite clear, he arrived in this country as a boy and was granted refugee status because Somalia at the time of his childhood was a bit of a war-torn place. And naturally, because this seems to be a trend, most refugees seem to end up in London. Yay, congratulations. You got a nice cushy home and benefits, because based on when you were a child, Labour were in office and they were very generous. Another rather important fact to add to this, he didn't actually serve the 9 years he was sentenced for, he actually served 4, which I guess supports the comments I made yesterday from the Democratic Football Lads Alliance. Is that what it's called? I think it is. Where they felt that paedophiles were given, and sex offenders, were being given lenient sentences. The 9 years to me is a sentence. It is a subjective argument whether it should be a life sentence or not. But I would say, once you've committed those types of crimes, your refugee status, even though you've been here for many, many years, should be revoked. And while his deportation has been delayed, this is a direct order from the Home Office, because of the seriousness of the crime he committed, which is why he was put on a flight to Istanbul. Now, since all this came out, many readers have expressed anger at this, with some writing the police should have been called and all passengers who were interfering should have been arrested and removed from the plane. I don't believe moral outrage and moral hysteria should have any place in performing one's duty when dispensing justice. In this case, ensuring that the gang rapist jihadist moron safely makes it to Istanbul, although why he's not being sent back to Somalia, I don't know. Perhaps the United Kingdom has a deal when it comes to taking ex-con Muslims with Turkey, which does actually remind me of something you does in fact do to stop so many of them coming into you, although that's a load of bollocks in hindsight. Now, since this has all gone down, Ahmed is now in an immigration detention centre while officials try to figure out how to put him on a flight out of the UK. But as such a process can take months, the lawyers for Ahmed are trying to seek a way to appeal against the deportation, which has actually led to a backbencher called Philip Hollowbone tabling a bill to speed up the deportation of foreign criminals, where he has said, "We need to deport these people and members of the public should not be allowed to obstruct the proper course of justice. Officials accompanying the deportee need to react appropriately to passengers who do not know what is going on. To simply walk off in the face of passenger confusion is not good enough. Many human rights groups will undoubtedly say that they deserve their rights and blah blah blah." You're right. So I tend to sit on the fence when it comes to speeding up such a process. When it starts to become expensive, then I take issue. When it starts to take a long time, yes, of course, and how you determine the time is a totally subjective argument. And as far as I'm concerned, by the way, to the victims' rights groups, yeah, fuck off. This is a gang rapist, born in Somalia. This is a refugee. This man committed atrocities in the name of Islamic State. This man abused teenage girls in a gang. This man served a meagre sentence, and quite frankly, he is a burden on the UK taxpayer. Oh yes, some of those taxpayers unknowingly said, you have a right to be here and blah blah blah, managed to get him kicked off the plane, stopping him going to Istanbul. But provided the proper measures are taken, this can be dealt with swiftly and properly, and he can be removed from these isles post haste. I have to be very careful how I phrase this because I firmly believe in due process and ensuring that it is done properly. I have to state this clearly because I don't want to be considered a hypocrite when it comes to things like Tommy Robinson's case. I stand by my remark for all cases, regardless of how much of a guilty shit they are. And in the case of this man, well, he's lucky he'll be deported out of this country. As his name and face are all over newspapers, it is only right to assume that someone will eventually find a way to cave his skull in until there's nothing left but a red puddle and a towel, or stick their fist so far through his face his head implodes in upon itself, whichever comes first really. And of course I'm not condoning or suggesting that. So that all aside, I hope everyone has a lovely Monday, and thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your ass.
Imagine my shock.